important. I think a successful property investor who is transitioning or is a full-scale buyer's agent, who should have the property portfolio sitting at, somewhere around 60 to 65% LVR to give you a good, strong indication, and playing in this field for at least 10 years to, get you the good confidence that these people have done what you are trying to achieve with your property portfolio and got the passive income that you're looking for. And they're not flogging courses, or they're not, selling their services in order to justify their lifestyle. Their lifestyle is protected by the assets that they've generated themselves. You're listening to Help Me Buy Property podcast, powered by Investor Partner Group. We help improve lifestyles by building scalable and sustainable generational wealth and passive income streams. We do this via our ecosystem that is a one-stop shop to all property investment needs. From evidence-based, data-driven buyer's agency, industry-renowned portfolio reviews and property strategies, property development with and for clients, tax, SMSF, business structures advisory, and cash flow real estate. Everything we do is to help people achieve financial independence and not just basic financial freedom by using property as a tool and as a medium. Presently, we've launched Australian Property Academy, where we are training and teaching buyer's agents, property advisors, property strategic partners, and secrets to finding investor-grade properties to astute investors. Connect now to experience it yourself, or drop in a line below at info@helpmebuy.com.au to get more information. Be kind and happy investing. Hello and welcome to Help Me Buy Property podcast. Today we are going to talk about buyer's agents and what questions should you be asking buyer's agents. We're also going to talk about what's happening in the buyer's agent industry. There are gazillions of them out there. So we are going to unpack all the key things to look out for and the questions that you need to ask the buyer's agents. Now, before we kick off and jump right into the mix, let's do drum roll and introduce Miss Cheryl Leong. Cheryl, how are you today?
Hi, Moss. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another thrilling session of Help Me Buy Property podcast. This is a huge area of interest at the moment because buyer's agents are plenty.
Zillions of them.
You
pick up a rock and there's a buyer's agent these days. So
it's so easy to find. It's not, you don't look for a penny, you look for a buyer's agent now. And this is, the legitimate question is that because there are so many buyer's agents out there, and we want to be able to weigh out sort of the pros and cons about that. But mainly is if you are looking at leveraging a buyer's agent, and we've spoken about this, like buyer's agents being, property investment advisors being part of your A team, but not all buyer's agents are built alike. So the key thing is what we want to be able to highlight here is what to look out for, the questions to ask, and how to determine whether that person or buyer's agency is the right one for you. And they play a big
role in the industry. There's no doubt about it, right? I think a lot of people default to the barbecue conversations and, their friends who would help them buy a property. And I always say this to people, be careful of the free advice and be careful of even this advice that we're talking about. Be careful of any free advice. Do your own due diligence and understand that, genuine advice needs to be independent with no strings attached. And so you have to understand that people who are going to, provide you genuine advice and independent advice, they're going to charge you like, the accountants, the financial advisors, the financial planners, a property developer, development manager, anyone, or property lawyer, anyone who you reach out to, if they're going to play on your side, there would be some sort of remuneration or change of consideration that is going to happen. So there is nothing wrong with the industry. It's just making sure that, you're not talking to people who do not have runs on the boards, right? And basically that's what this episode is about. So I think let's kick off on what's happening out there in the industry. Let's unpack that, Cheryl, a bit.
Yeah, and I think one thing to really note is that probably the pros of using a good buyer's agent to begin with, and then we can go into what are the cons of using someone who is not a great buyer's agent and what to look out for. And I'm just going to highlight really quickly. A really experienced buyer's agent can. It's not just about saving money all the time. It's about finding properties that suit what you want. Particularly, we're looking at investment grade properties, like are really contributing towards your growth, your financial growth. But they need to have an idea of what that plan is. What is that financial or
100%.
wealth plan in the property space for you? And so buying properties that fit your portfolio and your strategy, I think, is really important. And like they really need to understand, like, you know, how to really negotiate the best value for that property for you. And is it what you're paying for worth the value? It's not around just getting the property just for the sake of it, you know, creating FOMO. Like you're going to miss out on this property because it's a hot deal and it's okay that you pay an extra 50,000 or above. And maybe that's the case. Maybe that is the case, but they need to have a valid explanation and reasoning and strategy behind that. You know, for someone who's a great buyer's agent, they're not, I mean, personally, I think they're not pushing you into deals, but they're really providing you the backing and the data and the reasoning behind why they feel it's a great deal for you. And if you're saving money in there through the negotiation process, I think that's fantastic. Not a lot of people are not great at negotiation because negotiation
100%.
is a skill. Real estate agents are trained negotiators. They're doing this 24/7. And if you're someone that goes in and you're buying property once in a while, but you're nowhere and skilled in that space, like have a professional who understands how to play them, you know, play the game to a
100%.
certain extent and as well. So a few things from your
Look,
side.
I mean, I agree with all of those, and understanding that a buyer's agent who's playing it on your side, especially an investor grade buyer's agents, not only they're helping you out on the time poor side of things, and so where you keep missing out on the deals and the market keeps moving away from you, but also the due diligence and understanding, having an ear to the ground basically when they're going out and buying, and what pockets to buy and what pockets to purchase, and backing that with evidence-based investing. It's not so much about, you know, praying with your emotions and creating that FOMO. It's also not about just, you know, following the herd. I see a lot of buyers agents typically doing that as well, right? Where everyone starts running towards Townsville and everyone starts running towards Perth and everyone starts running towards, you know, Adelaide. I always say this to people that, you know, the areas that are going to grow in the future are the areas where there is crickets right now, because, you know, the data basically tells the story, but the demand is only penting up behind the scenes. So you can't see the demand on the surface, right? So it's important that the buyer's agent has that conviction, has that sort of lens, has that data to sell basically, and the credibility to prove that, okay, they've done this time and time again. So it's always important about, you know, how long have they been in the industry for, or what is their credibility looking like? You know, have they seen multiple property cycles? You know, a lot of people that I see are typically putting their hand up and getting into the buyer's agency space, been around for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, right? So they have never seen the truest cycles of property market. You know, they think that, you know, property growing by 30% every year is normal. And that's where they go out there to social media and say, hey, look, these are the results, and they are guaranteeing the results. There was one in the news just recently, and it was so sad. Me and Goro, we were talking about it, where the guy was basically flaunting and promising, you know, guaranteed growth and full returns, and we are going to refund you the money if the growth doesn't come through. It's all BS, right? No one can do that sort of projections or predictions. Yes, you know, you can safely time the market, but no one can guarantee timing the market. You know, that's not how property cycles work. You know, one of the key things to understand is, you know, property cycles used to be 7 to 10 years, or at least, you know, 7-year cycles, where you would see a peak and the trough and the peak and the trough. Those cycles have shrunk quite significantly to about 3.5 to 4 years, where you would see a peak and a trough and a peak again very quickly. Post-COVID, you've seen that happening quite significantly in some of these areas. And typically that's because you're seeing a lot of active buyers agents who are creating the hype, creating the market quite quickly with their clients, and then moving to some other market and creating those markets themselves, right? It's not the owner-occupier driving the market, which is the true nature of how the real growth comes through in some of these areas. So, yeah.
And so why don't we try to summarize it into the...
Get yourself taken on a ride by property spookers, so-called property investment advisors, or buyer's agents who are selling house and land packages, or off-the-plan properties or apartments. Get yourself a copy of this book called The Millennial's Guide to Property Investing. This book is not just for millennials. The title suggests, but it's actually the most advanced way of investing in property. You know, this book will relate to your clients, your colleagues, and other business owners. There are so many property spookers out there who have come out of the woodwork over the last 3 to 5 years, and there is so much misinformation out there that I had to write a book about all the F-ups that people can actually avoid in order to be super successful in the property investment journey. Some of these are really easy to identify, but they are so costly to fix once these mistakes are made. So it's a short book, it's easy to read, it has a lot of stories, it has a lot of examples, and it is a true guide for people who wants to do it themselves. My name is Moxin Reza. This is my story, and a lot of you will relate to parts of this story if you're not born in the riches and if you're trying to build a property portfolio that can last generations and help you improve your lifestyle along the way. So I give you a chance to come out there and have a read. Be kind, stay safe, keep smiling, keep investing, and please do check out the book.
Top 5, or maybe you want to give a bonus 6th question to ask if you're looking to engage a buyer's agent. So this is so you can go with your piece of paper with your questions and answers and do a bit of an interview with your buyer's agents. Because not forgetting, some people might be great salespeople and they'll come up with a great story to make you feel that they're going to do what you need to do, but you really don't know until you really understand what the credibility and someone's experience. So Moss, what will you think? Why don't we start with 3 from your side? I'll give 2 and then we'll see if we throw in a bonus
Look,
one.
I mean, the first and the foremost from my perspective is how long have they been investing in the industry for? If they've been in the industry for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, then that's not good enough. I've seen buyer's agents who have bought house and land packages themselves, and they're now buyer's agents, claiming to be buyer's agents. And so they do not have the breadth of experience. Now, there's a flip side to this. Of course, people always question and say, oh, but it's a new industry, so of course they need to learn. Yeah, 100%. But they don't need to learn on your clients' profiles. They don't need to learn on people and play with other people's wealth, right? It's like any other industry where you can work with a bigger buyer's agency, get the runs on the board, and then set up your own shop. There is nothing wrong with that. But if you've just bought apartments or house and land packages, post-COVID or just pre-COVID, and build a portfolio which is done really well, then that does not guarantee that you would do the same thing for the clients, because anything anyone has bought around COVID or around 2018-19 has gone up in value by 50-60%, right? So that is not the credibility that you're looking for. You're looking for a person who has seen multiple property cycles. You're looking for a person who knows how to navigate the highs and the lows of the property market and can fundamentally pick the right property with the right due diligence in place.
In the right areas to invest in as well. Yeah. So how long have you been investing? Where it's 5 to 6 years. So I said the last 3 to 4 years, anyone that purchased property thinks they're a property expert because their properties have gone over 50 to 100 grand, which is wonderful. Which is great, which is really, really great. Doesn't necessarily mean you're a property expert. So, I mean, in terms of cycles, then you'd be looking at someone who's personally been investing within the last 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, I think a decade is a bare minimum that you should, consider when an experience matters, right? You're talking about a person that you're going to depend your wealth journey towards. And so there's this saying that, your ideals should be the one who are already there, not who are trying to get there. So it just doesn't make sense. And so that's a natural segue. What have their portfolio done? How big or, how much is their portfolio worth, right? And it's not just about, how much has it grown over the last 2 years. How big and diverse is their property portfolio typically, right? And that is $1 million question as well, because, if their portfolio has done only well in the last 2 to 3 years, then there is a question about, hey, what were you doing before that? And why did the portfolio didn't perform in the times before COVID? So, yeah.
Yeah. And so what, would you, is it okay to ask what their own
100%,
portfolio is worth?
Look, I mean, when I've used buyer's agents in the past, in my earlier days of my journey, and I'm talking about commercial buyer's agents, because commercial buyer's agency is something that is not my cup of tea, or that has never been my expertise. I'll ask point blank, candid question. Tell me what your net portfolio worth is, and you don't need to feel offended about this. You don't need to feel negative about this. I have a right to know, because I'm putting my fate in your hands.
And paying you a good amount for it as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so what is a good ballpark figure to be able to go if it's enough to reflect if they've got enough? Look,
I would say
experience?
Somewhere around 4 to 5 million at least their portfolio needs to be worth. Anything under that does not justify, them doing well or having a breadth of experience. It's not about number of properties, right? People can say I have 5 properties or 4 properties, and they can be like $300,000 properties. It's not so much about the number of properties. It's about the quality of the assets that they have and the breadth and the diversification of their property portfolio. And that's what you're trying to gauge, how experienced is this buyer's agent in their property acquisition journey.
So we've got to be really specific with that question as well, because not only is it around the value of the property portfolio, which could be $5 million, but you've got $4.5 million in debt, to say, for example, in debt. So you've got to actually ask what's the net.
Yes, or where does the LVR sit, right?
Where?
Some of the questions that people ask me all the time, where does your LVR sit? It's an amazing question. That where does the LVR sit of your property portfolio? How much passive income is coming through your property portfolio? I think those are some of the amazing questions as well. So it's not just about the value of your property portfolio as well. I'm very candid about my property portfolio, that my property portfolio is very focused on cash and cash returns. And so any given point in time you would ask me the question, I'll answer that differently, because there would be a point in time where I would have 10 properties or 15 properties, and then there would be times where I would have 4 properties in my property portfolio, right? And because I'm doing developments, I would have a lot of residual stock. So does that mean that when I have 10 properties, I'm successful, but then I have 4 properties, I'm not successful? The numbers do not justify where your property portfolio is sitting. It's about the strategy that you're following. Where does the LVR sit? And what are you trying to achieve with your property portfolio? What strategy are you following? So, yeah.
And so just really understand those, because ultimately you want to be working with someone who has achieved what you're wanting to achieve, so they can guide you, right? That's the key thing. And so that they can say they've gone through the ups and the downs and the nuances of the number of transactions, or even serviceability, because serviceability is a big part of it as well. How to navigate the serviceability maze to maximize serviceability. So that gives you, if you're able to ask more detailed questions, and maybe you maybe think it's a bit uncomfortable to ask these questions, but the truth is you are paying someone a decent amount for their service to support you. So don't feel that you need to necessarily feel bad about it. They are legitimate questions.
Yeah. And what type of properties, right, do they have in their property portfolio? Have they done just, house and land packages, or off the plan properties, or duplexes, or apartments, or townhouses, or what are they doing with their property portfolio? I think that's very important too. How fast have they built the property portfolio too? I think that's very important too as well. A lot of buyers agents have gone into a buying spree over the last 3 years and have bought properties in, say, for example, Perth and Adelaide for $400,000, and they've gone in and bought 8 properties in a year. And does that suffice? Because of course that would give a good indication about their LVR being really, really low, but they might have done it over a small period of window. So it's all of these questions are quite relevant and quite important. I think a successful property investor who is transitioning or is a full-scale buyer's agent, who should have the property portfolio sitting at somewhere around 60 to 65% LVR to give you a good, strong indication, and playing in this field for at least 10 years to get you the good confidence that these people have done what you are trying to achieve with your property portfolio and got the passive income that you're looking for. And they're not flogging courses, or they're not selling their services in order to justify their lifestyle. Their lifestyle is protected by the assets that they've generated themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the key things, and I think should be a red flag for you as well, is asking if they recommend apartments or house and land packages off the plan properties as well. So those are things I would say are red flags for me. If you both, I mean, it's an apartment that is in a very small boutique block, which can be renovated, and it's never going to be built out. That's probably a little bit different, and if that's part of your a particular strategy, that's different. But if it's an apartment block in about 150 other apartments, and it's in the middle of Perth CBD or Brisbane CBD or whichever CBD, I would be saying that's absolutely red, blinking flags all over, like, where, everywhere. And what would, Moss, what are your thoughts
100%.
around
Look,
that?
apartments, especially in the Airbnb space, they play a big role, right? Because the ROI on apartments can be almost up to 15 to 20% in some of these high tourist, environments. So yes, you could be following that strategy too. I've seen, people buying rundown apartments and renovating and flipping them. I think that's an amazing strategy too, right? But if you're buying like brand new Schmidt looking off the plan property as an apartment, and someone is calling themselves as a property investment advisor selling you that, then you need to be away 10 feet tall away from some of these people.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, there are a lot of different business models that actually do that, where they are providing some sort of investment advice, ultimately are selling sort of house and land, and they get paid by the developer. I would just say, just make sure you do your research and understand, and you're going in with your eyes wide open from that aspect. What else? I would ask them about the strategies they use to secure properties. And when I say strategies, we're talking about when you start off, it's, a lot of people just sort of go in and go, I'm going to buy a house and, an established property. More sophisticated buyers agents with experience will start to diversify and look at different types of strategies. So they might be looking at doing, commercial, they might be doing things like co-living, obviously there's duplexes and small scale renovations and developments and different things, like, some might be short-term rental as well. So you want to know someone who has a fairly wide breadth of experience and understand these strategies, or have implemented them themselves to be able to grow their portfolios to the point.
I see a lot of buyers agents in the space of the transactional work, where they'll come in, understand your requirement, go out, buy a property and see later and disappear. So there is no shared accountability. A pure experienced investor buyers agents, should not only articulate that strategy for you, but also help you implement that strategy for you. And I think you're right. How do you go from mediocre investing to high net worth investing? By chasing, for example, yield and growth at the start, to yield and profits, and then yield and profits at bigger scale. You talk about co-living, commercial, high rises, full scale developments, to transitioning into developments, if that's what your appetite is. How do you go around finding the right blocks that becomes the pipe? What else, Cheryl? What else? Let's wrap this up. What is the one final thing that a person should always ask a buyer's agent?
You want to really have a look at, do your research in terms of them, bit of stalking, look at to see how their reviews are. So if they've got company reviews, Google My Business reviews, Trustpilot, things like that, that should give you a good idea. Do they, if they're able to speak, if you're able to speak to some of the people that have worked with them, and if people that have not just in recent months, but that have worked with the buyer's agent a few years ago, and preferably are still continuing to use them, so they can actually see, and they'll be able to see, we bought a property from them 4 years ago or 5 years ago, or probably even more than that, and this is what they've done, and this is what they've helped us achieve. Because ultimately, people are engaging buyer's agents because they want to be able to have the buyer's agent and leverage their time and their knowledge and be able to have someone guide them to get them to where they want to be from a property investment portfolio perspective.
And I think
if someone able to do that, then they're worth their weight
definitely
in
100%.
gold.
And I think you make a really important point. It's about the reviews and also the validation, right? As to, okay, what have they achieved for their clients, And it's not just about their social presence. A lot of people get attracted to, oh, I showed up on AFR, or I showed up on news.com.au or ABC News. It's not about their social presence or main media PR marketing strategy. It's so easy to rock up to some of these places if you are a high influence person. It's about making sure that, they've delivered what they are, talking about, be it from a client's perspective. And so going back 3-4 years and checking out what they've done for those clients, and, have they shared some of those stories online as to what they've achieved for the clients, and speaking to their, existing or old clients and see whether they're still their clients, and, are they still getting the results that they're talking about, and ultimately sharing the accountability, right? That's what it's all about, right? It's not just about, hey, me buying you a single property and then disappearing in thin air and getting that money that I really want from this transaction, right? It's not just a fee for service model. You are also impacting the outcomes that the person is trying to achieve.
Yeah. And that's what the good buyer's agents will be doing, particularly if they're investment buyer's agents. They want to know at the beginning, what is your plan to get you to where they want to be? So it'd be like, well, Moss, Cheryl, what are you planning? You want to be able to have this much passive income by this date. And here's the modeling that we're doing. It's modeling. We are making assumptions here. However, based on conservative numbers and so on, we feel that we should be able to purchase this, and this each time. Or let's have a look at your portfolio at each time. We're going to make some adjustments. Okay, then we're going to purchase here. And so that's how you want to be guided. I think ultimately, if it's a buyer's agent that you feel is going to be your guide in getting you to where
100%.
you want to be, and you feel confident that they're the right ones, then that's what
and
you
use this as an opportunity to learn as well, right? A good buyer's agent would not only use this as an opportunity to help, but also as an opportunity to educate, I don't want my clients to always come back to me for the same advice, right? I would rather them do this themselves, and I would rather help them progress for properties that are requiring developments or renovations or flips. And so it's about the progression, and it's about me providing, for example, a lot of opportunities for people to learn as well. And so typically a good buyer's agent should always use the client interactions as an opportunity to educate. And if that's not what they're doing, a lot of buyer's agents hold their cards to the chest, right? Oh, I'm not going to disclose where I'm buying, or I'm not going to disclose what I'm trying to achieve or what I'm trying to do. It's not so much about that. Look, a true market that is going to grow, you disclosing that area is not going to change the fact for your clients. In fact, it's going to help your clients even more, because if you've already done the buying there and you're disclosing about some of these areas where you've been doing the buying, and if other investors basically come in and jump into those areas, it actually helps your clients, right? It's not against you. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. Any final questions you reckon that we should asking, or we've got 6 already. So, and I'd love to hear from our audience if there are any more that they feel like good questions that they've asked that we're able to uncover if someone was or wasn't the right buyer's agent.
And please do
them.
share your stories, your journeys, in relation to questions, or if there are any other questions that you feel people should be asking, when they are selecting a buyer's agent, jump into the comments below. Thank you for listening to us. Be kind, stay safe, keep smart, keep smiling, keep investing. This is Cheryl and Moss checking out videos.
See you, bye.